Okay, then. We waited a few minutes. Thanks everyone so much for joining here in Discord and over on Twitter Spaces. As usual, we're recording um, the call. This is community call number 25. It's been a while since the first one. A few of you have been here for quite a while, so you remember. I say it almost every time because every 2 weeks it shocks me how time's flying. And these are actually really great check ins or checkpoints for us to convene all of us here and keep track of what's going on. Um, we also post the summary of these on Reddit frequently. So if you like to see things written out, head over there as well. So we'll start with the usual product updates. And then I prepared a little bit of a section of smart things to say about the role of roles. And then we'll get into a little bit about the campaign, the pins, and what's going on there. Some about support, and then our usual community news. I think today will definitely fit into 30, 40 minutes, so prepare for that. Otherwise, let's jump right into the product updates. So, first things first, as always, we are tweaking the user experience and the interface of guilds to make sure that all the feedback we're getting from you gets implemented and it's the easiest to use. It's very, very important value for us still. So, we made a few changes. We redesigned the account like pop-up window that you see when you click in the right top corner to see your account. It's more compact. It fits more accounts essentially because it kind of grew how many things are on there, and it fits the overall design of the user interface everywhere else more. It shows all the connected addresses as usual and the social accounts, which connecting and disconnecting social accounts is temporal disabled for a few weeks because of security reasons. If you have disconnected your social account, you can still reconnect the same one that you disconnected previously. But because of the pins and security reasons with that, we disabled this for a few weeks, but it will be back up soon and we'll let you know. We also made some improvements to the flow when someone joins a guild. It didn't specifically have any um, indication if you weren't eligible with your connected accounts. It just kind of closed the modal. And now we give like an extra little message there uh, about the satisfying the requirements specifically. So before that, it was more just connecting the accounts, and now we also put in a section about the requirements as well. So it makes more sense that they're together. Not being eligible for requirements is not actually a problem with how Guild works. And I know it might seem some way, and we got a lot of messages and misunderstandings from this, but it actually indicates that the product functions as intended because the main use case for Guild is to give the opportunity to community builders and managers to create these requirements to gate spaces and activities for different members and different type of participants in their communities based on what assets they hold, how they participate in crypto in general, and what their internet history is. So this way, everyone can find more of the spaces that are relevant to them. If you face this, don't take it to heart. That's just how the tool is being intended to be used. More about the requirements here. So, as you know, we have three visibility options for requirements. We have the public visible ones that everyone can see. We have the secret ones that remain unknown until you satisfy them. And we also have the hidden requirements, which will never be shown. And they are strictly for purposes of having like markers within the community. They're more pointers for admins to know who does what and how many gauge kind of how many people would be in a role without confusing anyone and making it public. And with secret requirements, they were a highlight in the part of a campaign when Linia had the pin. And there were kind of a black box for members who are trying to join. That meant that members who were trying to get in didn't have any insight into how many requirements are in there, if they made any progress on it, or how are they on their journey to satisfy the requirements, or if they've done any of that. Now there's a tiny little information window on them indicating the number of secret requirements that are in there and the progress or status that each member or each user has with these. It's a little more information without, you know, telling what the requirements actually are, because that's kind of the purpose of keeping them uh, unknown. We also made an update to the error page, which ironically you probably have seen a little often. We had a little downage last week, um, and before that, or before this update, it was directing everyone who were on this page onto our Discord, where we haven't done any support in quite a while. That's not the purpose of our server, as you know. It's very inefficient to keep support there and answer support questions. We won't have any insights or data about support. And we also like to keep the server more of a place for community where conversations can happen outside of the context of support questions. So now the error page with the update directly directs everyone towards our support window on our user interface, which is the place where that's the best place to get help. If you have any issues with the product or any questions or inquiries, that's the best place to do so. We have a pretty good flow set up there, and Hannah is behind the keyboard every day to answer all of your questions and get you help. And we also have terribly good insights there about what actually are main issues with the product or main questions that users have. It gives us like a much better insight of what to do next and build our roadmap and make our improvements. Another update is we talked about this before that it's coming up. We gave a heads up, I think, the last time and maybe the time before as well, that Wallet Connect has launched its second version or V2. And I think the thing we said last time is that Wallet Connect version 1 will be disabled soon. And for the past few weeks, we had both of them on the Connect Wallet pop up window in Guild. Now we took off the first one, and now that's shut down, and only version 2 are available through the user interface. Yay. um, yes, that's about that. And then a little bit of that's actually all of our product updates and a little bit of a back reason why there last week or the last community call 2 weeks ago we had a sea of updates and now we have less is the usual is we work in ebbs and flows of shipping and stability. So we like to have our view product development, community, and everything in a way of we grow. There's a period of growth and many in terms of product, many shippings. And then there has to be a period for stabilizing that and making sure, everything works. We do that a lot in community as well. Think it's a good way to think about, creating anything, if it's a product, if it's community, if it's content, if it's relationships or like your network. It's great to think, ooh, do I need to focus a little bit more inward and stabilize things? So that's what we turned our attention to in the past 2 weeks. More on our back end actually. So that's the updates aren't that visible, but there's still some things that we can update you about on that front as well. We refactored the whole API again, and we're going towards the version 2 of that. Selected community maxi builders are already included in testing out these new versions of the API. The broader testing phase starts soon, which many of you will have the chance to do that with us. And ideally, many of you won't notice anything changing actually on how the product works or anything. But over the summer, we're updating more of the AI and transfer AI. Oh my God, sorry, the API and transferring more and more of the site's functions to the new version to make the whole app and whole experience smoother and faster and better. And all of the, I think at this point we have 1,000 downloads on our API or SDK as well per week. So make all of those partners and users of our API happier as well. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you'll see like, Guild's much faster. I'm hoping this will be you in August. Guild's like 2.1 seconds faster than ever before. Anyway, next point is we also migrated the whole infrastructure. So like the big robust backend of Guild in the past few weeks, which is a large and necessary task for our dev team since the user base is expanding and very good things are happening. We're growing as a product and everything. It's all good. But we need to make sure that we have a strong and stable foundation where we can build the app on top of. So these little periods of strengthening are absolutely necessary. And then one more thing, which then Hannah will expand on in a little bit, is the Twitter rate limit seems to have gone away, which was the main support question for a while, and that was the main error message actually. It's very, very happy news, and the team worked super hard to work on it. As you know, the Twitter team has gone under some changes recently, and the API shipment that they were about to do got postponed by quite a few months. But hopefully, we have found a also hopefully permanent solution to this. But yeah, Hannah will say more about it in our support section a little bit later. But also, ooh.
Yeah, we've been all, waiting for this. So I'm so happy. But yeah, as you said, I will just, show my excitement at the support section about this.
And before that, though, here comes my little interlude of big, smart, nice sounding things to say, not product. Maybe I should have put this in the community section, but anyway, it's kind of more about like guild vision and ideas what to use guild for and the role of roles. If you need inspiration of thinking of what else could you use guild for, or what else is possible in the future of the internet and online communities, this is a little something something for that. Um, so it's about the role of roles, which we posted this Twitter video about yesterday as well, that you can see in the secret chamber as well, or on our Twitter. Hee hee. And the question is really, why are roles so important in a community? Because many of the products in communities and growth products and everything, they don't have roles built in them. It's just kind of like there's stuff you need to do and then you get a reward. And why does Guild think in a way that there's also roles in the middle? So, the Guild model of having requirements and then you get roles, and those roles enable you to have rewards. So I'd like to expand a little bit on this. There's a saying that I've heard over the weekend, or I don't know, a few days ago, that there dictatorship at the door and democracy on the dance floor. And it really stuck with me for a few days. And I was just like eating this phrase of, I thought it sounds really interesting and can be applied to so many instances. And it really reminded me of how even a year ago we were thinking about community management. And as on my personal journey as well, I was learning more about communities and community building, especially online. It's so different. Um, the notions of curation and how strict that should be or not are a really interesting topic, and how you layer those, you know, doors as well, where the dictatorship happens or the curation happens. So this sentence, by the way, the dictatorship at the door means or indicates that there's a strong curation system at the entrance to something, and then let crowds kind of self-organize and act freely once they're in. And this is reminiscent to the early days of social crypto communities where there was a high barrier to get in financially with the token. And then there's like absolute, sometimes chaos, but mostly just like free organization on the inside around the special interest. And that's a really interesting point. But the importance of having roles, though, is that there isn't just one room or a dance floor, so to speak, but many in this building that fit members with different interests, statuses, assets, contribution, and internet history in general. So it's not just like one thing, a one big barrier, but ideally it should be much more small, interest based, much more versatile basis for curation to getting into these rooms with other people. And having these rooms be as overlapping or segregated as in each community. It will be very different based on what the goals, mission, and purpose is for these communities. They also say another saying here. I know I'm like on saying number two. Drink every time I'm saying a quote or a saying. But yeah, it's a general truth that the most successful conversationalists have the mindset in interactions with others of assuming two things. One, that the other one has knowledge or information that you don't, and you should be curious of, learning from them and finding out something that you haven't known before. And the second thing is you also have something in common, even if it's not something obvious. If even if the person looks nothing like you, comes from a very different walk of life, you should go into a conversation or an interaction assuming you do have something in common, which is always true. So, yes, having said that, very smart. Thank you, Reka. With automation and curation systems and the technologies that are in our hands as tools right now already, and they're just getting better by the minute, we can make these commonalities so much more obvious and in these interactions with others so much more intentional and contextual. Imagine that, like, all the other folks you see and talk to in this concert hall back room that you got in because you're a super fan of this band, they're not only also the super fan of this band and got in like this, private back room of the concert hall, but they also have the same top 3 artists in their top 10 on Spotify, and they have been their fans as well. And you have so much in common, not only to talk about, but that like gives such a general sense of safety and commonality. Um, yeah, so interactions can be much more contextual, and I think that just sounds extremely cool to know that about others. And it's in the sense of online communities and in person as well, it's the community builder's job to decide what the curation is going to be based on, how these rooms or spaces should be designed, how they should be layered to in regards to each other, and then also what happens in there, which is one of the most important things. And these decisions need to be reevaluated very frequently to make sure it's aligned with participants and the original plan, or is there a need for change or switching up something? And Guild, yeah, we're in the Guild community call, so we're going to insert Guild over here. Guild helps with automating this process as much as possible, since online communities are much larger on a scale than local or in person communities usually are. And to our benefit, there's so much data that we leave behind or actively and purposefully create on chain and off chain, just on the internet in general alike. These are super useful to establish these systems in human organizing. Yes, kind of that was my little monologue on the role of roles. I don't know what you think. Share your thoughts in the chat. I'm also planning to talk about this next week in Barcelona. If any of you are going to be there, this is going to be some part of the beach there. I don't know yet, but I want to talk about community automations and making every community builder's life easier, not just with Guild, but generally through building more rewarding and intentional experiences and leaving more time from the manual tasks of community building to actually curating the experiences and creating cool spaces and events and activations for each other. And yay. So that was that. And then we can move on to, okay, I'll have one sip of water before we go into Cough Town again. Great prevention. So next little section, I'll say a few words about how the Guild pin campaign's going. First of all, it's been over a month since we started it, and the support has been overwhelming. I honestly did not expect, like, we planned so much of how this is going to be the coolest campaign and our biggest so far, and how we're going to make it the most fun and exciting as possible, which I think worked out pretty well. We stopped making the clues that we had initially to give all of you as big unfair advantage, hours of an advantage of claiming the earliest pins with the earliest ranks over the general public. We stopped that, but since it's still pretty fun. And many of you have minted early. Shout out. I know you're also here. Shout out Exodus. You're still on the very top, or like top 10 of the leaderboard as well. Pretty impressive. I don't know how you do it, but it's crazy. And thank you again. So a little about the pins. They are many, I think most of you know, but just if you don't, they are non-transferable, so soul-bound NFTs. They are on 3 chains now: Polygon, Binance, and Arbitrum as well. We'll put it on more to be more inclusive for users of other chains as well, but we're shipping at a steady rate. I mean, 3 chains in like a few weeks is pretty good still. Anyway, they are a proof of join, signaling belonging from wherever you go. It's going to be in your wallet. So everyone who or any other app will show what pins you have in your wallet or on your person, which just means that you've joined a community at some point that you have the pin of. And I think that's a very nice way of belonging. It's similar to what POAPs are doing for us already, in a sense of they mark a certain time or like memory. POAPs are usually for events in person or online. Pins are for joining a guild. They're really cute little collectibles. And for admins, they also give this like great building block to use in their community strategies, so you could know on chain who has entered your community. Possibly use this for token gating in other application that requires or allows you to create token gating in it, which is a lot of Web3 platforms already. Luckily, they allow that feature. Yeah, and a little update of how the campaign's going. We're at almost 500,000 pins minted, which is insane. In a few weeks, I did not expect this. We did have some goals, but Jesus Christ, this is crazy. And we've partnered with, so the strategy was that we have sometimes 2 per week, sometimes 1 per week project that we partner with, that we choose to support with this campaign with some growth preemptively. And there's already 9, including Guild itself, that has launched this guild. Today, just today, like an hour before the community call, Arbitrum has launched its pin as well. Arbitrum is one of our largest communities, and they've been around for a while, showing us how to nurture a full ecosystem with the roles and setting requirements according to these roles. So if you haven't already, grab your pin there if you're already a member in their guild to have it on chain as well. And tomorrow, we have another pin coming. So there's so much demand, luckily, from communities that also want to participate in the campaign and want their own pins, that we decided to change the once a week to twice a week. So their next one's coming tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And the race on the leading board is getting still pretty fired up. There's so many of you that are very close to each other. And the top participants in the leaderboard, we're already preparing some little special gifts for those who are in the top. So yeah, that's just a little something something. But otherwise, yeah, it's been an interesting and great journey with the pins. And thanks everyone for the overwhelming support and patience while we change things up and being so agile. We try to let you know everything in advance that it happens. Yeah, so thank you. I'll give it over to Hannah to talk about support a little bit. Twitter, for example.
Yes. So let's get into the support part. Actually, it kind of a thing on the community calls now to just have a full-on section for the support, because there are so many things happening. We have so many, conversations, tickets coming into our way. And also, like, just 2 weeks ago, something like this, we had a live support event also on our Discord server, which was really helpful for some of you guys who just actually joined and were so active asking different questions. But let's head into the Twitter thing. So great news. The Twitter API rate limits have been managed on our end. So basically, it means that connecting and checking your accesses is smooth again on Guild. So, for example, if you ever got error rate limit status codes with like 403 or something like this, it's all gone now. So thank you so much for bearing with us. Um, actually, uh, what I wanted to say. Oh, yeah. So basically, as I mentioned, you're not going to see these error messages anymore, but there is something which is still happening and it's really good to know about. So if you ever see couldn't check access at your requirements, if you just, put your cursor at the triangle, there is this yellow triangle at the couldn't check access sign, you will see that it's being rate limited. So it still happens from time to time since we can still push through, a set amount of requests with their API, which might not be enough at peak times. So this is a limitation on Twitter's end. So if you see this, what you can do about it is just wait 10, 15 more minutes and try again. And what is really important with that, because it's kind of in connection with the Twitter connections and all these things, is disconnecting social accounts and wallet addresses is currently disabled. On Guild, this is disabled for a few weeks for different security reasons. And this feature will be reactivated in a few weeks. So you will be able to disconnect your social account and, linked wallet addresses afterwards, and you can just connect a new one. What is really important about is when you, for example, you see at your account at the requirements reconnection needed button, if you're trying to click on that and by clicking that you're trying to connect a different one, not the one that is already connected, you will get an error message because it can be misleading since the option is disabled. But for now, remember, this just means that like you're trying to connect a different account which wasn't connected before, if it makes sense this way. So when you're trying to reconnect, please just reconnect the one that is already connected. I think that's all on my end. One more, note on the end. If you are just connecting our support and you're asking us to disconnect your social accounts and wallet addresses, unfortunately, we cannot help you at this point one by one. So just bear with us, please. Just wait a few more minutes, and next month it will be all activated again. And I will pass back the verse to Rega.
Whoop. Thanks for the updates on support. See, this is also another reason why the help through our website is so useful because we have such a well organized info about all of it that's causing issues. It's great. I can't rave about it enough. Let's jump into the community news, shall we? The first one is that the second Gilded article is out, which is essentially the fantasy name. So Guild It, it's the fantasy name for our kind of use case article where we the events, the community stand-ups that many of you know, where we invite community admins to talk about their guild and how they build it up and what it's used for them and their greatest wins as a community and you know all those things. We usually convert those, so they're very strategically done. Those events that we convert those into use case pieces because many people need a lot of inspiration of how to use guild, and also community building is hard and we should collide and use our shared knowledge accordingly, and kind of pool everything that we know. So in fight for that, we published the second one, with Louis helping us writing it. um, it's on our mirror and in the sacred chamber as well for the link if you want to read it. um, Yeah, great. The other news is the what I've mentioned already, that the massive list of updates that we had 2 weeks ago is up in a shorter format on our Reddit. It's called Guild Log. Usually, it's we put it out every 2 weeks, to for ourselves and for you and for everyone to keep track of all the changes, all the growing pains that Guild is going through over time. Um, It's actually a pretty thick one compared to the normal size, but we try to keep it brief but informational. So there's the link for that as well. And we have the first specialty section of our nights in our Discord server, the Dune Wizards. So for a little while, for a few weeks, Rusty and Vatal have been our Dune Wizards, creating cool dashboards for our pins, for example, that are minted live, since they're the first ever on-chain things that Guild has put out, and you can follow them there. And yeah, so we decided that every Dune Wiz is also going to be a knight, but not every knight is a Dune Wiz, if that makes sense. Like every insect is also a bug, but not every bug is no, every bug is an insect, but not every insect is a bug, kind of vibe. And yeah, so that happened. So Veta and Rusty have been knighted, and yeah, appreciation as always. And with that, we're rolling into our last section of our community um, section. Again, I don't know. I'll just use that word again. Um, the special appreciation part. So to repeat myself, for Rusty and Vatal, they have been answering, especially Rusty, have been answering terrible amounts of questions in our server. So huge thank you for that and shout out. And Mir0x, who pointed out to us that because of a bug with Discord, many of our community members in the guild server weren't able to see the event in our event calendar. So we quickly fixed that. And thank you so much again for bringing that to our attention. And of course, for all of you for being here. You're amazing. And I think we're done with everything that we prepared for today. So if you have questions or anything, now is the time. We can take a few minutes to do that. But in other news, we'll start with the closing. Do, 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 do. Also, we have
What?
the cute music going on if if we stay on later, the elevator music.
Can we make it here? Can we mute it? Unmute it?
Wait, let me see. I think you can only hear this through my mic now.
No way. Yes.
Okay, so that's cute. It's very fun. I should have done this in the beginning too while we waiting. So cute.
The next
Vibey.
song of Guild.
Awesome. In the meantime, if you guys don't have questions, and then the closing is there will also, again, like every time, will be a poem for the community call. I've seen the pictures of it. It's a very cute animal. So stay tuned for that. That will be in our guild as usual and in the secret chamber with the button. And yeah. And also guild news is coming later out this week. So that's going to be on, I think, on our Twitter and, but most importantly, our Reddit. So stay tuned. Thanks everyone so much for joining. I'll turn the music off. Thanks everyone so much for joining. And yeah, see you next week. I mean, 2 weeks from now. Next week, I don't think we have an event. Yes. Thanks for all the endless support, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you in a week or two. See you
Bye.
guys. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.